Welcome back to KCIM Sports Rewind. John Ryan, along with KCIM Sports Director Jeff Blankman. Jeff, you just recently down to State Track, of course. You may have seen a little bit of action down there over the 3 days, right?
Absolutely. It was a kind of a wild weather 3 days, hot one day, raining you later that day, rain the next morning. But the state did a great job of getting everything in, and we were actually wrapped up even early on Saturday, though we started a little bit early as well. So great job. And one of the fun things for me is always to go down and listen to the guy that we've got joining us here on the phone here in a moment. All of us media people love listening to him while we're down on the field covering our runners and our athletes and stuff, and the job he does is tremendous.
Yeah, a lot of guys say Tim Fitzpatrick with the state tournament down there is one of those voices, and Father Collison is another one of those legendary voices. Well, this guy is the voice of the state track meet. His name is Mike J. We have him on the phone right now, live from Iowa City, right, this morning, Mike?
Yeah, that's right. I'm here, it looks like it's going to rain again, and, why wouldn't it? It seems like it's rained most every day this spring. So, yeah, back in Iowa City and recovering from, as you guys mentioned, a great 3 days in Des Moines, and it's kind of ironic, funny, whatever you want to put, watching Twitter this morning unfold, how everybody has already shifted to baseball and softball. All the media, the coaches, the athletes, how busy people are, and just jumping right into the next season. It's pretty awesome to see that unfold in Iowa. But the state meet was amazing, like it always is, and I'm sure you guys say it, and I've heard people say it every year, that this is the best ever. It can't ever get any better, and the next year we say the same thing.
Now, let's talk about your end of things. You're the announcer. You're the guy that creates the excitement, and I've heard just people rave about the job you do, but that is such a unique job that you have. Talk about what it takes to prepare for something like a state track meet.
Well, to do it right, it's hours upon hours of prep work, and keep a lot of stats on a yearly basis. So there isn't. So at least get a little bit of sleep on Thursday and Friday night, and it's just it's a labor of love, and it's just doing your homework, and that's I don't do so much to try to find that hidden story. That's your guys' job and the print media job, I don't have time to relay that anyway, but I like to, there's a lot of research involved trying to find out how many medals kids have won, how many times they've qualified to state championships and that type of thing, and state rankings. But it's just it's something that, to be honest, I work on all year long and try to keep up on things. Now, after the state meet, I'll be putting some information aside so I don't have to redo it next year and look it up again and that type of thing. But always following cross country very close, and anything that happens in the indoor season as well.
Mike, one of the things that really is cool for people in the stands is how much you do know about the kids. I remember several times you talked about Spencer Moon from South Central Calhoun while he was out on the track going to Simpson. With so many schools, so many kids, how do you get all of that information? Because, like you said, you research all year long, but you've got to be reading things from everywhere to be able to get that kind of information.
Well, that's part of it, and also the coaches. Most coaches are very good and keep good statistics, and so at least twice a year I send out an email to all school districts asking, do you have cross-country or track athletes that have signed or are going to sign to run somewhere? And most of them are pretty darn good about getting that information back to me, and parents do as well, and get a lot of stuff via Twitter. Twitter is a fantastic thing for what I do. I don't know how many people I follow on Twitter, but every one of them are pertaining to track and field, so I get a lot of information that way. And of course, it takes time, and you guys know that. If you want to do a good job at something, you've got to put the time in to do it, just like these athletes have to put in the time to do well on the Blue Oval. I think, I owe it to them to put in my time and do due diligence to return that.
You have to call a 100-meter race and a 3,200-meter race. Talk about the different event preparation, because each race is different, and you've got to be ready for it, right?
Yeah, in the distance races, I tend to have a little more information just because you've got more time, and so the distance races, I'll include how they did at the state cross-country meet, maybe more of what they've done in the past at the state meet as well. Like if you've got a distance race where the leader out and has a large lead on the rest of the field, race description kind of goes out the window, and you're filling time with accolades on the field, and especially the leader. Where the sprint races, the 100 in particular, during the race, you're only calling that event, and you've given their accolades during the intro. So, yeah, it is totally different for sure, and takes a little different heartbeat to get it done as well.
Mike, what are some of the events this year that kind of stood out for you from the entire state meet?
Oh, wow. One thing that really impressed me was Thursday when it was 90 degrees and Reese Smith ran 9:11 for 3,200. I thought was outstanding. I thought the freshmen we had a ton of outstanding freshman kids this year, but with Ashlyn Keeney and Ainsley Erzin, Keeney from Liberty and Erzin from Carlisle. Racing with the very best, this weekend, and putting their names in there with the very best we've had in the past was very, very, very good as well. And the events that really tug at my heartstrings, I think the best thing that our association and union have ever done was add the wheelchair events. And, and those kids, they train just as hard as the able-bodied athletes, and some of the things that they're beginning to do now in the wheelchair events at our state level is impressive as well. So, it's a little bit of everything. Darian Porter from Bettendorf, I think, is a great story. Last year at this time, the story on Darian Porter was he was going to graduate from high school at semester and enroll in Iowa State early and start preparing for his football career. And somewhere along the line, he elected not to do that and came back and ran track this spring, and all he did was set 2 all-time bests Saturday, one in the open quarter, and then another one anchoring the sprint medley. So I think that speaks very highly to his character. It bodes well for Iowa State to agree to that. And, to want to come back, and he made several comments. Hey, I just wanted one more opportunity to be around my teammates and my peers. And I think that's very special.
We're talking with Mike Jay, the voice of the state track meet here on KCIM Sports Rewind. Of course, Mike, we love those stories. More people should pay attention to things like that. But what gets most of the print is some of the controversy. The 3,200 race, we were talking off air. You said, shockingly, this happens a lot more often than you think it would. From your perspective, what happened there?
Well, I honestly don't know. You've got to think that unfortunately a button may have gotten pushed twice on the digital lap counter. And it does happen more often than people think. And it's always sad and it's heartbreaking because somebody's either going for a record or going for a title, or a personal best, and all of a sudden they've got an event where they are done, and it's short or long, and that's just unfortunately the way it happens. One story that, on a much lesser level that I experienced years ago, I coached high school track and cross country for 26 years, and we were at the Dickinson Relays years ago, one of my first years of coaching in the 80s, and had a young man that set a new school record in the 3,200 for us, okay? Indoors at Dickinson, an indoor school record, before the year of cell phones. And we get home, and everybody's excited, and he's telling his parents, and I get a phone call the next day from you and I that said, those times are not counted. We were a lap short. So I had to tell this kid who had told his parents and all his friends he had a school record that he did not, So, that's on a much lesser level, but it doesn't mean it's hurt any less. And it's not the answer anybody wants, but it does happen. We're human, and that lap counter is run by a human, and things can happen. And it's just so sad that it wasn't caught beforehand. And I, and even though it's not my job, I should have caught that, but we were given updates on field events at the same time, and all of a sudden, with 600 to go, and the clock and the lap counter said 200 to go. We're at 7 minutes and 30 seconds, and I said, there's something wrong here. There's no way, obviously, and then it all unfolded the way it is right now, and it's just a sad deal.
Mike, one of the races that was a lot of fun for us here in this area was the boys 2 800 meters. We had Spencer Moon and Chase McAllister. Chase won it. Spencer finished in second. We also had a kid that we don't cover, but he's in our area here in our conferences from Maple Valley, Anthony, Charter Oak Ute, that was right in the hunt as well. But what do you remember from that race and how that one played out?
Well, what I remember is that here are two kids that probably in their career, who knows how many times they've raced against one another, being so close, and then coming down and chasing a state title like that. I just, it's special. It's just awesome to see kids that personally know one another come down to a race like that. And I thought both kids ran very well. I thought Spencer Moon had a great state meet. And, it's just, it shows the depth we have in those events. And I just couldn't get over the fact that in my mind, and maybe it's not true, but how many times those two have met up on the track in a cross-country course in their career, and here they are coming down, stride for stride, chasing a state title.
Yeah, Mike, and the really cool thing as well is the guy that finished in third is actually going to be Spencer's roommate at Simpson next year. So that's what makes that even more special. Hey, one other thing I wanted to talk to you about: the U.S. Nationals coming into the July, I think it is, to Drake Stadium. You'll be doing the PA there again. What a special event that is to get here in Iowa.
Oh, it really is, and it's even bigger. We had it last year, and last year was a non-championship year, meaning that there was no World Championships and no Olympic Games. So a lot of the athletes elect not to run in the U.S. Championships when it's not a championship year, because they can go to Europe and actually, and get in several races and make money. But this year it's for all the marbles. The top three will qualify to go to the World Championships in Doha in September. Which is why this meet is going to be later in the year. In Doha, in July, it's probably about 115 degrees. In September, it cools down to about 105. So they've moved it a little bit later for us to have it here in Iowa. But so hopefully people will realize that, as big as the Drake Relays are, as big as the state meet is, we're going to have the U.S. best here on Iowa soil in July. And as everybody knows that follows track and field at all, the U.S. best, in many cases, is also the world's best. So it's going to be a preview of the World Championship, and the top three, like I say, will make the U.S. team to go to Doha. And hopefully people will come out and support our sport, support the state of Iowa, so we can continue to get big events like this.
Now, you've traveled all around the country. You do this all over the place. What are some of your favorite venues? I mean, Drake's got to be a special place. So outside of that, what are some of your other favorite venues and really track and field fans have to go see sometime?
Well, that's a great question. Stanford is pretty special. They run the 10,000 meters at 11 o'clock at night Pacific time. It's 1 o'clock for us, but they have it's catered to distance running, and there'll be 4 sections of the 10,000, and every single athlete in 4 sections may break 29 minutes. And the American record was set at that meet as well. And it's those type of things are amazing. Hayward Field in Oregon, which is no longer because they're building a new stadium, was one that was a must go to. Now I'm saying, without being there, because it's not done yet, is the new stadium in Oregon is going to be amazing. There's great places all around the country. I do the Ivy League as well, and that is always the first weekend of May. And this past couple weeks ago, it was at Princeton, which is just an amazing setting. And it'll be at Yale next year. They rotate between 3 schools. Penn, it'll be at Franklin Field, where the Penn Relays are held in a couple of years. So Franklin Field's pretty awesome. It's absolutely humongous. And without the Ivy League, I would never get the opportunity to be there, because it's always the same weekend at Drake. But those are some of the places where there's a ton of history, and many of them are just very small venues, but the amount of history that is involved is crazy good.
We're talking with Mike J, once again, the voice of the state track meet. And Jeff, I know you go down to state track, and this is one of the events you look forward to, is hearing Mike on the mic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably my favorite state event to be able to cover out of all the different sports that we go to. This one is my favorite, and we all down in the media room talk about being able to listen to Mike. He keeps us up to date with everything's going on. So.
Well, Mike, again, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. Thanks for the effort you put in. It makes it special for the kids. It makes it special for everybody. So we appreciate your efforts.
Well, I appreciate that. And, guys, and I really appreciate small-town radio and small-town newspaper, because those people cover Iowa high school athletics from the heart. And I know it's a dying breed, but hopefully it'll continue to hang on, because without it, we would be lost. Thank you very much for what you do.
You bet. We'll see you at the Nationals, U.S. Nationals, right?
All righty. Sounds great.
Mike J, once again, joining us here on the phone. And again, one more time, but you got to give it up to a guy. He works hard at this and perfected his craft.
Absolutely. And thank him very much. Appreciate him joining us here today.
All right, more KCIM Sports Rewind.